Hey guys, Hanor here. Alright, I'm picking up from the last episode where I split it in two. I kind of came up a little bit before it. This is not it yet, but anyways, it's moving on still with the combat maneuvers of basic flight maneuvers, and I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Whenever this is, if there's enemies that you'd spotted above after passing your target, and so instead of doing your climb up, you might choose to run it out or dive actually even further. But anyways, we're going to talk about low yo-yos and high yo-yos. Alright, low yo-yo is where you dive down, pick up a lot of speed below your target, and then come up behind them. And if a high yo-yo is where you go above your target's path to bleed off speed and then come back down on your target. So right in that video I just demonstrated both. These maneuvers are especially used in jet combat a lot. In fact, yo-yos are used a lot more than most of the time that we realize. But now we're going to move on to scissors. First of all, scissors most oftenly occur whenever the aircraft are about to overshoot one another. The attacker's about to overshoot the defender, and the defender decides he wants to turn in to attack the attacker, and the attacker normally tries to turn back in to engage the defender, and so it starts the scissors. Now on the horizontal plane, it is called the flat scissors. But in this video, and there's not very many episodes of it in this clip, but we are going to enter some rolling scissors in this. And some of the scissors are going to look kind of crazy because the 109 doesn't turn nearly as good as that Hellcat. So there's times whenever I do enter verticals, but I don't keep it going that way because I have to evade his guns at the same time. So like right there, it was a little weird, but this starts a rolling scissors, and in a later clip you'll see more on you'll see more of a rolling scissors start as well too. But the key component to winning this rolling scissors is that really you actually cut your speed and keep your speed low, as well as deploying combat flaps or takeoff flaps preferably. You got to keep your speed at the right speed though. You don't want to stall at those speeds, so you got to be really touchy. And generally the slowest aircraft, whenever they enter the scissors, is going to win. And so in this clip right here, you know, I start out and I'm actually behind the Hellcat, but he's got a better turn, so I cut my throttle. And right there is where we kind of are entering a rolling scissors. You know, you kind of have to perform it really with the 109. You gotta keep your pitch up a lot, and then when you roll over, it kind of just drops the nose. But it's really difficult to make that plane overshoot for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just very difficult. To be honest, if you're in an energy fighter, you should probably, once you start entering a rolling scissors, do a high yo-yo and get out of it. You know, these 109s and Focke-Wulfs are not really good for rolling scissors. Okay, here's a guns defense. Guns defense we probably see a lot in arcade, but it's where you're causing your plane to slide off the plane of its path by doing, you know, a lot of yaw maneuvers with the rudder, Q and E as I'm doing, as well as pitch ups and pitch downs. Like the plane is sliding, and the guy behind me is just having a hard time because he's looking at my plane orientation and aiming at the orientation of my plane. So this entire time he's trying to lead me, but I keep sliding out of the flight path, and so I get out of there kind of unscathed. And this maneuver is generally performed as a last-ditch maneuver. You don't really want to perform the guns D, you know, as your first maneuver. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the high yo-yo defense. And the high yo-yo used as a defense It's not something that's done a whole lot, and there's only a few times this goes. Normally whenever they are going to overshoot you and enter a yo-yo themselves, a high yo-yo that is, or whenever you catch them trying to do a high side gun pass on you. And you can do a high yo-yo defense really close to gun range, and they are going so fast that they can't keep their guns on you and will overshoot by passing below your plane. Anyway, so enemy plane comes in right here. He's firing, but he's overshooting. He's pulling off a high yo-yo. I go ahead and pull a high yo-yo as well, which would generally lead to a climbing spiral. But we'll talk about that in a later episode. Alright, next we're going to be talking about, after this part, we're going to be talking about an unloaded extension. Now, the key things about an unloaded extension is generally done whenever an enemy overshoots or you overshoot the enemy and they're now having to run. But unloaded extensions where you dump all your energy by entering a steep dive, dump it all into your speed, and just run pretty much away from your opponent. You get out, you outreach his gun range, and then you, from there, can climb away to a more dominant position. This is also a maneuver that can be done if you are caught on the defensive. You know, you didn't realize there was an opponent, such as in simulation mode and so forth. But these kind of maneuvers are typically, you know, one of the last minute gambles that you can do. Sometimes you can enter an unload extension by rolling and diving into it. Next up is going to be a high G barrel roll. A high G barrel roll is where you do a barrel roll with hard rudder, and you perform so much G's and twists that you end up burning a lot of the energy out of the aircraft. Normally, hopefully causing an overshoot, or at least causing the opponent to get close enough to enter a flat scissors. Like I said, this is kind of a last-ditch maneuver. Most of these maneuvers that we're talking about now are last-ditch defensive maneuvers. We're going to enter another spiraling, high G barrel roll real quick. But it's harder to do at lower speeds, especially in these younger aircraft. Now, in higher tier aircraft, you normally enter them by just pitching up your nose to about 10, 15, 20 degrees and then slamming down on the rudder. Basically the rudder that would be going vertically up, and normally that will automatically just throw your wing over, and then you can just slam on your aileron and you as well as your pitch on your controls, and you can enter your high G barrel roll from there. But on this lower tier aircraft, it's a lot harder to do. So keep that in mind. Speed is a very predominant factor, because if you're not going fast enough, you won't be able to pull enough G's in your barrel roll. So this will be a maneuver that you need to have practice ahead of time on your aircraft. This is also known as a roll. And it is a good maneuver to actually do while you're approaching a head-on. You can go into a snap roll to evade the head-on. Now we're going to talk about the defensive spiral. Defensive spiral, once again, is the last-ditch maneuver. You have bled off too much of your airspeed to really do any other maneuvers, and so you just nose over and go into a spiral. You nose over down so that you are maintaining enough speed to keep the aircraft airborne. Or maneuvering, I should say. And you keep going and down and down and down. You want to generally shallow this out, and also you can start slowing down on your rudder, which will eventually, toward the end of the spiral, cause an overshoot. As you can see, he is now no longer on my 6. He's gotten too much energy, and this will either leave with you getting on their 6, someone hitting the deck, or both airplanes going on their separate ways. We moved on to one of the final maneuvers that we're going to talk about, and that is going to be the rope-a-dope. Now the rope-a-dope can also be done as an extension from a boom and zoom, but it's got to be done in a place where you have so much more energy or speed than the opponent does. And so if you end up overshooting your opponent in a boom zoom, when you're out ahead of him, it's being done in this video, you want to start climbing, but not too steeply yet. And closer towards max gun range, I did it a little bit earlier there. You want to make a good sharp turn. You see, he's firing at me. You got some hits, and you can either keep the turn going, or if he ends up, his nose is going down right there, and I pop my flaps to try to cut over. I should have cut my throttle so I could nose over faster, engage, and that is a good rope-a-dope. You roped him into it, and then you killed him. At least hurt him. Like I said, guys, this is a lot of information to take in, so most likely you're going to have to revisit this several times. But either way, this should be very useful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys get a lot of benefit out of it. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. And subscribe for future content to come. Alright, later guys. Because you're too close and you're going to end up just having an overshoot or something. And so you generally pull lag pursuit at those times. Now you gotta keep your maneuvers in mind based on pursuit paths and the egg and so forth. Now, so I know that's a lot. You might have to re-watch this video. But anyways, moving on. The first maneuver that we're going to be